Hey, you're listening to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM and ArrowFM. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey!
We started off Raw, answering a question I believe we had last week. Is Braun Strowman still too hurt for the Rumble? Answer, yes.
Yep. It is what it is.
Yeah. I still think it was really ballsy of WWE to attempt this not knowing if he would be back on schedule. Obviously, we've flipped the script now, 1 week out, 1 week of content out. So it's she was cutting it a little close. But I'm sure Braun Strowman isn't completely out of the picture. Given that they did take this risk on him, it seems like they would be willing to take a similar risk on him later. Maybe at Chamber, maybe later on. Fastlane, we'll see what happens.
Maybe we'll definitely have to see where they go with him once he comes back. But now that opens the door for somebody else to have an opportunity.
And just before we get to the man who earned that opportunity, I'd also like to point out it was quite a humorous way that Braun Strowman ended up losing his title match by ripping the door off Mr. McMahon's limo. Some great comedy around there. But as you alluded to, we have a new number one contender for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. It's not John Cena. It's not Baron Corbin. It's not Drew McIntyre.
It's Finn Balor, who I have heard was personally requested by Brock Lesnar.
Okay. It's an interesting choice. I'm going to give him that.
I think he's always liked working with the speedier guys, the smaller guys. So, and you got to remember his last two really, really good matches, outside of whether we think the Roman Braun matches were good or not, were AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan.
Yep. Two
smaller, quicker guys.
Yeah, I definitely get where that's coming from. I think the parallels, because Daniel Bryan was just so recent, are very hard to not draw between the two, as you say, more athletic archetypes running around. So I think these two will put on a pretty damn good match. Finn Balor looked to be getting a bit of a build-up anyway. He got the endorsement.
But they're not pushing Finn Balor!
If you haven't tuned in before, that's Josh's mocking the internet voice. You'll hear that quite often. But Finn getting his little endorsement from John Cena, and then moving into a match for the Universal title.
I think the biggest question is going to be, will we see regular Finn or Demon Finn?
Logic would say that Demon should show up, but do they want Demon to lose? Because I see zero chance that Finn walks out of the Royal Rumble with the Universal title around his waist. No Dolph Ziggler's chance. No anything. 0. 0.0.
Alright. I see a 50% chance.
A 50% chance.
Yes.
You are flipping a coin, and if it lands on heads, you're having Finn Balor defeat Brock Lesnar.
Why not?
I will take that bet, good man. To be fair, I said 0%, so the odds are kind of infinite for me, so if I win, you have to pay out a very large... It's not going to happen. I don't believe you.
This whole, we're going to be listening to our fans thing, it's very possible they could put the title on Finn. And whoever wins the Men's Rumble would have the chance to face Finn for the title.
Nah, you crazy.
Whereas we know if Brock's the champion, only one person from Raw only one person would be sane enough or insane enough to challenge Brock for the championship if he wins the Rumble.
Insane enough?
No, not that sane. No.
Would he KO Braun Strowman?
No.
Would you say? No, he's perennial NXT for now. Would you say that he was a bit of a psychopath?
No, but I would say that he does have a particular stomp.
I feel like you got me further away from the answer here.
Really? You don't know a finishing maneuver that has that's the stomp.
No. You're talking about Randy Orton's, where it was like almost a stomp, but it was more of a kick thing?
No, that's a punt.
Stomp. Dakota Kai does a mushroom stomp.
The move was banned and unbanned, banned and unbanned again.
Yeah, the punt kick. I already mentioned this.
No.
I don't know how much longer I can hold this on.
Yeah, we're wasting valuable time.
I'm with you. I think there's a couple men. If Brock is champion, potentially would win the Rumble and go that direction. Seth definitely would be top of the list. I wouldn't put it past Drew McIntyre also winning and taking the Brock Lesnar option. But that's pretty much where my list ends. So I would only add Drew to your list of people who are crazy enough. And now that we've got past the opening segment of Raw, let's reference some other things that happened. The Women's Tag Team Championships. Alexa Bliss shows them off. They look like some neat little titles. That's my nice way of saying they look pretty darn good.
Yeah, I thought they looked really good. We found some how they're going to be won, and it's not going to be how we thought we were going to get them.
Not at Mania.
No, and not through a tournament either. We're getting a tag team women's elimination chamber match with the winner getting the titles. 3 teams from SmackDown and 3 teams from Raw.
If it sounds insane, it's because it is. But it is going to be I'm going to say, a pretty darn good match. Well ahead of time, no matter who they put in there. Because whenever they do these sort of matches with the woman, they're always trying their goddamn hardest to prove to you, the loyal viewers, why they're being given these opportunities. And so far, every single time you've given the ball to the woman. Evolution, I think, is probably the best showing of that. They've taken that ball and they've run 16 football fields down the line and scored 83 touchdowns. I don't know how sports works. But they've done pretty darn well in the past. So I expect them to hit it out of the pitch again.
Yeah, I do too. But the internet was talking more about a segment that happened before this segment than the actual titles.
I'm ignoring that segment. I'm just talking about the titles. And the teams that I expect to be fighting for those titles.
Well, I think Tamina and Nia Jax will be one.
Oh, that was one on my maybe list.
I'm thinking, well, obviously Bayley and Sasha.
Yeah,
if they're not in this and they don't win the titles, then what the heck have they been doing with us for the last year and a half?
Stalling.
And for Raw's third team is going to be a little tricky.
Yes, so to me, Raw had 4 teams. I think in this last spot, the Riot Squad or the Alicia Fox, Mickie James combo with Bliss also floating about in there potentially, but I guess they're less notable of a team. I feel like Riot Squad are a lock, as are Bayley and Sasha.
Yeah, I think that's the 3 teams that we'll get from Raw. SmackDown.
You got 2 easy options here. One of them will win and go on to be the first ever Women's Tag Team Champions, and those are...
Well, the Iconics are an option, and I wouldn't mind it, but I don't see it.
Nope, it's been put out into the world. That is what shall happen.
The second option. Ooh.
Second team, I see Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose sticking together.
Yeah. And the third could either be Naomi and, randomly paired with Carmella, or we could get the third team being the Bella Twins.
True. I think the third team from SmackDown's a little bit up in the air. It also depends, I guess, on the Women's Royal Rumble and what happens post that, with some potential things cropping up here, there, and everywhere. What that's going to do to, I guess, the landscape of the SmackDown Women's division in the short term. We may see them end up putting, if we do go the whole co-winners way with Becky and Charlotte, we may see them put them together in the classic hate each other but team together team. It's always possible because they'd be waiting until WrestleMania for their actual shot, still technically be on the SmackDown roster kind of thing. I would not mind that.
The thing I like is that this gives the ladies not fighting for the main titles something to do.
Mm-hmm.
A storyline that they can progress to. And so it won't be Sasha Banks and Bayley versus the Riot Squad for the millionth time.
Well, it will be. Just the title will be on the line this time.
Yeah, we'll have a purpose to it.
Yeah.
And so it's something that we've been wanting, and I think we're going to get... Hopefully we get something good out of this.
Mm-hmm. All the fingers are crossed.
And some toes.
Just a few. I lost my segue. I had one. You screwed me up with the toes thing. I'm going to rewind and say my last sentence again. All my fingers are crossed.
Yeah, Nikki Cross debuted.
Hey! All of the NXT call-ups sort of making pop-ups here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, and they're not locked into the shows that they showed up on.
No, because I believe they all showed up on Raw, and then they also all showed up on SmackDown, excusing Lars.
Yeah, who's gone MIA for medical reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just... And I just had an interesting possible team down the road at some point.
Shoot.
Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans.
Okay.
The man and the lady.
Okay. If we're talking about teams and we're talking about these NXT call-ups, I feel like the focus right now is so heavily on, no pun intended, heavy machinery here, and specifically Otis. We've seen 2 segments, and they have hit it out of the park.
Yeah, he's stolen whatever he's been in so far.
I have rewatched both of the segments he's been in so many times now. They've just been great moments to just sit down and just laugh. His character is great, and I'm hoping that it means something for Heavy Machinery, because as much as everybody's laughing at Otis and like, man, this dude is awesome, the team is really hard hitting with some great chemistry as well. So I'm hoping that part's not lost in the fact.
They're probably especially be needed, given the fact that there are rumors that a certain team is requesting its release.
Yeah, there's been... I'm pretty sure we talked about it last week, assuming you're referencing the Revival. Yeah, we talked about it last week with AEW and Revival being the most likely guys to fly their way over there. We'll wait and see. Raw's tag team division was pretty empty anyway, so... my bet would be that Heavy Machinery will find their way to Raw. But we'll have to wait and see exactly where they land. I don't know when those decisions are being made, when those contracts are being signed. We will find out in the shortened time, maybe before the Rumble. We'll see. And the last thing we got time to talk about on the Raw side of things, the Intercontinental Championship was on the line. You see Bobby Lashley got himself interfered into the Dean Ambrose-Seth Rollins match. What that means is that immediately we book a triple threat for next week with all 3 men involved. I don't know why anyone who doesn't want a championship opportunity doesn't just do that. It works 100% of the time. But in this case, Bobby has managed to worm himself a title out of all of this.
And they're getting stronger and stronger every week. We're seeing less and less of the goofy stuff that we saw in the months prior to the reset. And now we can start to take Bobby a little more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And Leo, I think, has finally found his niche for his character with Bobby. I'm interested in seeing where they go from here. Because I still believe that the person that at WrestleMania, Elias is going to win the Intercontinental title.
All right.
It just makes it easier for that to happen because he was already feuding with Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, he just sort of ignores that for a little while and then finds him again and starts fighting him again. It's easy and it's peasy. And then one thing that I've realized I've completely and utterly overlooked with this week's show is I'm pretty sure I didn't ask for a song.
Let's just play Bobby Lashley's.
Bobby Lashley's theme it is, decided right here live in the middle of the show. It will be Bobby Lashley's theme, and we're going to play that for you now. And you're back with a Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM and ArrowFM. Grady and Josh. Hope you enjoyed Bobby Lashley's theme. If not, blame Josh. You heard him make the decision. But we're over on the SmackDown side of things now. The Iconics, we talked about them with this women's tag team titles thing, but they're going to be in the Women's Rumble. What if one of them won?
Then you can't have them as a tag team champion.
I can have them as both.
No, you can't.
Debatable.
It's one or the other.
The tag team titles is like a 50% chance of happening, and then the winning the Rumble and then going on to beat one of the two champions is like a Dolph Ziggler's chance of happening. So I'm gonna take the tag titles. I'm sorry, Iconics. Neither of you are gonna win the Rumble. I have to make sacrifices here.
I'm interested in because while we think we know what's going to happen, we don't know what's going to happen. For all we know, a woman may win both Rumbles this year.
That's a ballsy call.
Yeah, it definitely would be. But it's something I could see them pulling. But if it's not the way we think it's going to go, then the field is completely open. Anyone could win the women's title, Rumble. Last year, we pretty much knew who was going to win. This year, we think we know. We have two options, pretty much, that we think are going to win.
It's A, B, or both.
Yeah, it's A, B, both, or let's go or somewhere in left field, where all the other women are.
Yeah, they could always swerve us, Ms. Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, and just completely change our plans. Samoa Joe, he's picked his target. He's going after Mustafa Ali. I feel bad for Ali. This is a rough way to get going on the main roster.
This is a good way to get going.
Sorry, it physically rough.
Yes, but it elevates him. It makes him important because they're building to him and giving him a sympathetic push.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I said rough, I kind of more mean Joe ain't the kindest of persons. But you're right in that Joe has been arbitrarily on the top of SmackDown, so putting Ali up there in a feud with him, it makes sense. I think the other bonus of putting him with Joe is that Joe doesn't often win feuds, which does mean we can potentially telegraph the ending of this one.
I'd rather talk about the segment just before the match.
Yeah? Go nuts.
Because we had the appearance of EC3, and we had Joe walk by like, I thought I got rid of you, Carters. I thought I got away from you.
Yeah, there was a neat little reference. He's like having like Nam flashbacks, and yeah, it was a neat little moment. I'm looking forward to EC3 when he debuts for realsies. I think he might be a standout of these guys that are coming up, much like Heavy Machinery. We've seen guys come up from NXT before and just flop because they've just been thrown out on the main roster and hope that they'll deal with it. I think what they're doing with the call-ups this time is great, giving them, like with Heavy Machinery, we're developing a personality. Everybody's going to know what to expect when they finally show up for those who don't watch NXT, which, contrary to the internet's opinion, is a very large majority of the Raw and SmackDown watching audience. Same with EC3, you know, he's just this total and utter vain, jacked dude who claims to be really rich, and nobody likes. Lacey Evans is also getting a personality, and Nikki Cross we've seen a couple times now on the main roster, but she's just continuing to show you that she is an absolute crazy person.
Yeah, that was funny. I absolutely started dying laughing when she started on Ray there. That was absolutely hilarious.
If we're talking about that, we're going to talk about that. Andrade up against Ray. A match a lot of people expected potentially at WrestleMania here for the duo.
It was a really good match.
I don't think anybody expected less than a good match between these two.
No. Well, let's see where they go. But I think one of the biggest news, though, was Andrade lost his nickname and last name all at once.
Usually we see people lose last names, right? I think it's usually last names that they...
Yeah, unless your name is Rusev. You lose your first name. And Cesaro as well.
True. Everybody's just losing names, left, right, and center. We'll see. Sorry, Andrade. And then in the final segment of SmackDown, the Bar, Miz, McMahon, we're straying further from the Bryan Miz path, but Miz and McMahon.
Yeah, we're ending up on Shane Miz.
But they're just so good together that I'm not mad.
Yeah, they're having fun. I think that's the key. It's at the very least we're seeing Miz having a different side of him than he's been showing prior to this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible they may run with it and go give him the titles, at least until the Bludgeon Brothers come back. Or it's possible that this could all be a ruse and he could stab a knife in Shane McMahon's back at the Rumble.
Yeah,
and then we get a match at WrestleMania where Shane can jump off something.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in the camp of new champs. That's where I sit.
I would be perfectly fine with that. Because originally I was going to go with Daniel Bryan versus Finn Balor for the WWE Championship.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they would swerve us and give us Finn as the Rumble winner.
Yeah.
But now I'm not sure because there's always the possibility that they could do Finn as the Universal Champion. Although I think we're going to get Brock versus Seth.
It's possible they still do Finn losing against Brock and then later on coming out and winning the Rumble. It would be one of those marathons.
Do you really think he's going to be in any shape
That's
to
the
get
point.
to the ring after Brock?
I think he could come out on a stretcher, just be wheeled down. Oh, no, because they got to come out of the dugout, don't they? Okay, well, lift him out of the dugout, and then push him in his stretcher down to the ring, have him roll in, and then roll out for an hour. It's doable, come on.
Yeah, if he doesn't win the title, he's not winning the Rumble, because he's not going to be in the Rumble.
But what you're saying is if he does win the title, he could win. So what you're saying is Finn ain't in the Rumble, full stop.
Yes, because he's either going to be champion, or he's going to be on his way to the hospital.
Yeah. I think the most interesting thing with Miz and McMahon at the moment as well is that in terms of storyline-wise, a lot of the other McMahons that all run both brands now are doing stuff like Vince is there and he's cancelling matches and making other matches, but Shane, I guess, is the only guy actively wrestling of the lot. We're not seeing... obviously, we don't expect Vince to step in the ring. Steph's done it a couple times, so I wouldn't expect her to, but Triple H seems to be, for the now, hanging
You have
out.
to remember, Triple H tore his pectoral muscle at that event that should not be named.
Yep.
So he's not going to be anywhere even possible at the before WrestleMania.
True.
So it's not that he isn't wrestling; it's that he can't.
And I don't know if that's for the better. If Shane McMahon wasn't making me laugh on a regular basis, I would almost prefer him to stay out of the whole piece that's happening at the moment. But it is what it is, and we'll have to see how it happens. Also to note is that Rusev versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the US title did get added to the Royal Rumble, so we're now up to 9 matches, 2 of which will be Rumbles. So this could be a bit of a long pay-per-view. Strap in.
Yeah. We're going to be looking at probably a near 2-hour pre-show, and then 4.5 to 5 hours show.
Yeah, if we look at what happened last year, we got 3 matches on the pre-show, and then we got, 4 matches on the main show and the 2 Rumbles. I believe, if I switched it to the right way, I did. So it's possible we do that again, where we push 3 of the matches down to the pre-show and keep the rest on the main card. Because both the Rumbles are going to go an hour each, right? It's minimums, they're going to go an hour each.
Unless they pull the 1995 rolls out.
Let's not speed them up.
Yeah, that was a little ridiculous having them come out every minute.
Let's just leave it as it is. But yeah, it'll be an interesting pay-per-view. I'm looking forward to it. Rumble's always a good pay-per-view. Favorite pay-per-view of the year. But we kick off early with it. Alright, well, we've run out of time. It's been great talking to you.
Bye.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRradio, Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRradio, and we'll see you all next week.